persons, no, to unite the people of Israel because they were a nation without a human king. So, something like that. For example, I told you, no, what's the meaning of anthropomorphism?
No.
Greek word anthropos,
Anthropos is man.
man, meaning to say, anthropomorphism as a term used, no, to describe God as if he is, or he was a human being. With emotion, like for example, God, no, was calling him or calling Adam and Eve, where were you? No, and he walked in the middle of the garden and told Adam and Eve. No. So, it's anthropos, meaning man.
Verse 8. You not yet mentioned this one.
What?
You not yet mentioned this term. Rather the term not yet.
No, I see that they wrote that to the board. The Bible.
Not yet.
Maybe in other class, Father, in our class, you don't
I could not think in mentioning this because that would be the first thing that they mentioned. Okay, so anyway. Now, for example, what are the three promises God made to Abraham? Very easy. The promise of land, the promise of blessing, the promise of descendants. Very easy.
Descendant or nation, Father?
Huh?
Nation. Descendant,
the same nation.
Descendants.
Right.
The promise of blessing, land, or descendants of prosperity or
Very easy.
what are the first five books?
Genesis.
First five books. The name of you is translated. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and Numbers. Why? We had that many times. We had a Bible struggling. Okay, so we'll continue. Now, since in our subject of the changes, we are dealing with sin. Again, what is the definition of sin? What is your idea? What is your idea of sin? What is a sin for you? Yes.
Turning against with the will of God or
Turning against, don't use the word
the commandments of God.
Because it is an act of man.
Act of man.
So what about it? It is an act of man. What is that? What is a sin? Forgive me, Father, if I have sinned. What is a sin? Ikaw. What is that? What are the three conditions that make an act of man sinful? That is basic catechesis. What are the three conditions that a certain act of man to be considered sin?
Full knowledge.
Again, grave matter. No, full knowledge and for consent of the will. So these are what we call the three conditions to be applied in determining whether an act of man is considered sinful. And we know that our catechism teaches us that sin in its degree of culpability is either mortal or venial. Still, you don't understand what is mortal or venial. What is a mortal sin?
The serious sin.
I know that is a serious sin. What makes it serious?
Destroy the divine life.
Ah?
It can mix the Vatican with between the human and relation. You see, it makes the Vatican between God and human.
So, a sin we consider mortal should have these three conditions present in the conditional act. That act that he is committed is a great matter. And when he does the act, he knows what he's doing. And despite his full knowledge that that act is sinful, he still do it. So, the three conditions will always be present. That act that he is doing is a serious matter. What are serious matters? For example, the act of killing, the sin of murder, the sin of idolatry, the sin of other sins, no? Stealing, the sin of what other sins? What you mentioned?
Murder.
Blasphemy.
Blasphemy, that is a sin against the first commandment.
Thief.
Thief.
Thief also.
Yeah. Of course. And so on and so forth. No? All those capital sins mentioned in the Bible are considered big matter. Okay. By the way, do you have a subject moral theology?
Pada director holy moral theology.
Do you have moral theology?
Already pada
What's your profession moral theology?
pada Anabaptist.
So these things, no, this is very basic. This belongs to the subject in our high school. We have a subject of ethics. Okay. Now, why is that sin considered mortal?
Make the deadly for the soul.
It causes what?
The death of
The
the
death
soul.
of the soul. So, that's why it's called mortal. What the Latin word mors, mortis, meaning death. Okay. So what kind of death is that? The death of the soul. So, how do you define the death of the soul? When is the soul considered dead? Dead.
Disconnecting God.
Total separation.
Again? Now when? What happened when you are separated from God? Again?
They are not under His grace.
So, you're falling out of grace. The loss of sanctified grace. That's why it's called mortal sin, because that is death of the soul. It separates you from God's communion and friendship, the loss of some divine grace, and the separation not only separation from God, and separation from the communion, the community. No? And also, what is the ultimate consequence of mortal sin?
Death.
So that, no. What would happen in the soul if a person died in the state of mortal sin? What would happen if a person died in the state of mortal sin?
Punishment.
Huh? What would happen to his soul?
Suffering.
Huh? What would happen if you died in the state of mortal sin? You will go to hell. Very simple. You know, when can a sin be forgiven?
Like sacrament of reconciliation.
How can you be forgiven? From your sinful act,
Sacrament of reconciliation.
from the sacrament of reconciliation, what else?
Perfect contrition.
Perfect contrition, what else?
Baptism.
Baptism, yes, very good, baptism. Very good, what else? Okay, you can be forgiven if you go to the sacrament of reconciliation, if you receive the sacrament of baptism, no? Okay? Also, the anointing machine, because anointing machine can also forgive sins, no? The healing of heart and the healing of soul, and the forgiveness of one's sins, especially if the person is disposed, is properly disposed, no? When he has a contrite heart and be willing to be reconciled with God and the community. Okay. So, that's very clear, that is very basic. Okay. Now, what we already talked about mortal sin. No. So the other sin which we as controlled under mortal sin is vinya. So when is a sin considered vinya? So that means that that sin is not great enough. So the culpability of the act that does not constitute the death of the soul. It only weakens the human nature, and it will also lead you, if you will continue and you persist in doing it, to lead to the commission of mortal sin. Meaning to say, venial sin is less. What is that?
Venial sin is less brave master.
Less what?
Less brave master.
Less grave.
Brave master than mortal sin. It's not causing the death of the
It
soul.
will not cause the
but
death of the
it's-
soul, but it weakens
Yeah, weakens.
the human person. But it would not excuse us from committing any sin, whether it is mortal or venial. So, whether it is mortal or whether it is venial or mortal, then by all means we will avoid committing this kind of sinful acts. Okay. Now, in your moral theology, before I proceed, what have you learned in your moral theology?
Father and
Huh?
Father.
What have you learned in your moral theology class? What have you learned? What have you discussed? Because all this thing that I'm saying belongs to the moral theology. This is very basic things.
Forgot already.
Huh?
Forgot already.
Forgot. Now, when we talk about sin, we always define it in a technical term. An act of man disobeying the law of God in great matters with full knowledge of his act with the full consent of the will. So, that is how he understood sin. But remember that each sin that people make, there's always what we call meaning. And in that particular sin, certain commandment is being violated. For example, when I disobeyed my parents and refused to honor them and support them, especially when they become old, what sin is that?
Fourth commandment. Against fourth commandment.
What sin?
Act of men.
The fourth commandment. What sin is that?
Abandoning.
The sin of disrespect of one's parents. Now, how does the fourth commandment formulate it? No? Honor your father and your mother. So, to honor one's parents, is a great responsibility to each individual person. Because God specified it in the Ten Commandments that falls under the fourth commandment. So, failure to honor, failure to respect due to your parents, is not an act. It is not an act. But what kind of sin is that?
Sin of commission.
Of course, the sin of commission or sin of commission. Many times you only focus on the sin of commission. But there are times, we neglect to pay attention for these things that we probably we always commit this sin, but we don't mind about this sin. Now, to honor one's parents includes to honor all the people in authority. That includes your superior. That includes people in authority, the government officials, the church leaders. So those things falls under the fourth commandment. Honor your father and your mother. And that includes all the persons above you. Those people who are in authority, maybe in a civil authority or spiritual people, the people who have spiritual authority over us, like the magisterium, the pope, the bishop, and the clergy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No? We are so very particular with the sin of commission, and we neglect many times this particular sin we call the sin of commission, which many times we commit. Failure to pay respect to these people is a sin. Failure to help the person in need is a sin of commission. That is the sin against charity. You still remember how the recite the Ten Commandments? Remember the Ten Commandments? Try to. And the Lord your God, thou shalt not have other gods besides me. That's the short case expression. The second commandment is, thou shalt make
the name of the Lord thy God in vain.
the third.
Remember to keep the Sabbath day holy.
Remember to keep
The Sabbath day holy.
Sabbath
Day holy.
day holy. The next.
Honor your father and your mother.
Next.
Thou shalt not kill.
Thou shalt not
Kill.
Thou shalt kill. Next.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
That is the sixth commandment. Thou shalt not commit adultery. What else?
Thou shalt not steal.
Thou shalt not steal. Again.
Thou shalt not take false witness against your
Thou shalt
neighbor.
not bear false witness against your neighbors. What else?
Thou shalt not commit your neighbor's.
Thou shalt not commit thy neighbor's good or the neighbor's wife, etc., etc. That's the Ten Commandments. No? Now, we already talked about sins. No? In our catechism, in paragraph 1849, it says, sin is an offense. Sin is a violation. Against reason, against truth, and right conscience. It is a figure to genuine love for God and neighbor, caused by a perverse attachment to certain goods. What will be the effects of sin by immortal Omega? It wounds the nature of man and endures human solidarity. It has been defined as an utterance. Sin can also be in the form of utterance, words, a deed, or a desire, even the sin of even the desire, contrary to the eternal law. So sin can either be what? Can either be an utterance, words, deeds, and even the desire of the heart. So, many times we focus on the act. But we people also commit sins, even for example, Jesus said, you have said it, no, thou shalt not kill. But what I say to you, whoever is angry to his brother is already committing the sin of killing. So mean to say, it's not enough to avoid the act of killing, but it's also important is even the desire to kill is equally forbidden. Do you understand? You have not sinned anybody, you have not killed anybody. But if you are so angry with that person and have a desire to kill that person, you're really guilty of the fifth commandment. Another example, in the sixth commandment, remember, no, Jesus said, you have, it is said, thou shalt not commit adultery, but what I say to you, anyone who looks at a woman with a lustful heart already commits adultery. Now, you have to decide to possess that possessed object. And you have to decide even to steal that kind of object. The act of stealing is bad enough. Even the desire to steal is also bad. Yeah.
But that kind of the sin of desire by don't lustfully in the girl is really that is also a part of sin of nature.
No. That's not, that's not people that listen to the desire. Yeah.
Even it's a desire.
That is the sin, that's why we call it the sinful desire. Sinful utterance and sinful deeds. Do you understand? See, bad words, especially to your parents. That is what you see out afterwards.
What did you say? What the word?
Afterwards.
After.
Word.
Utterance.
Utterance.
Yeah.
E-O-T-T-E, utterance.
Any bad words that you utter, especially with the malicious intent in your heart, that is something very serious. Like what's that? Backbiting. We call it that marites. Okay. Sin is an offense against God. You know that. Against you alone. That's why we have to say when I'm sinned against you alone have I sinned, and that which is evil in your sight. It is in what Psalm is this? Psalm 51. Okay, Psalm 51. Sin sits itself against God's love for us and turns our hearts away from it. So, sin is an act that God separates you away from God. Yes. You know, I tell you, human as we are not immune to sin. Nobody is. There are certain individuals who are immune from committing sin, like the Muslim mother, the Virgin Mary. Why is he immune from sin? It's because it's full of grace. And we are born into this world in sin. We are not like the Muslim mother that she was not in sin. What is your problem that you're so very quiet? What is your agenda? Why are you so very quiet? Sin sits itself against God's love for us and turns our hearts away from it. Like the first sin, it is disobedience and revolt against God through the will to become like God, knowing and determining good and evil. Sin is the love of oneself even to contempt of God. It is strong self-exaltation, and sin is diametrically opposed to the obedience of Jesus, which achieves our salvation. It is precisely in the passion when the mercy of Christ is about to vanquish it that sin most clearly manifests its violence and its many forms. Unbelief. What are this example of sins? The sin of unbelief. Murder. bickering, shouting and mocking by the leaders and the people. Like pirates, cowardice, and the cruelty of the soldiers, Judas betrayal, so bitter to Jesus, Peter's denial and the disciples' flight. However, at the middle hour of darkness, the hour of the things of this world, the sacrifice of Christ everything overcomes, the source from which the forgiveness of our sins will pour forth inexhaustibly. So, what are the different kinds of sins mentioned in the Catechism, especially paragraph 1852? It says, there are a great many kinds of sins. Scriptures provide several lists of them. The letter to the Galatians contrasts the works of the flesh and the fruits of the Spirit. Now the works of the flesh are plain. What are the works of the flesh? That would lead us to sin. That would, what are these? Fornication, impurity, licentiousness, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, anger, selfishness, dissension, faction, envy, drunkenness, carousing, and the like. And St. Paul said, I warn you, as I warned you before, that those who do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. So these are only but few examples that St. Paul mentioned in his letter in order to warn us not to do any of them. And not just avoiding the act of doing this, but even the desire to do that must always be what you call prohibited. Sin can be distinguished according to their objects, as can every human act, and according to the virtues they oppose. Now, in every sin, there's always a virtue that is being opposed. For example, a sin of the flesh, like for example, fornication. What particular virtue that is being opposed? The virtue of
Temperance.
purity. What? Telling lies. What particular virtue that is being opposed? The virtue of
Honesty.
truth. For honesty, yes. How about stealing? What particular virtue is being opposed? Stealing.
Charity.
Justice.
Justice.
How about adultery?
Yes.
What particular virtue? Not only the virtue, the virtue of purity is being opposed, but the virtue of fidelity. Mockery against God. What particular virtue?
What did you say?
Mockery. You are mocking
Mockery.
to mock God. What particular virtue?
Blasphemy.
Well, it's like blasphemy, yeah. Blaspheming God. What particular virtue is that? Is that the virtue? But the virtue of what? Faith. Yeah, the virtue of faith, the virtue of religion. Do you understand?
What is the number in CCC? What is the number? Oh, you can
Okay, so
follow.
yeah, you have to study the particular sin.
80.
In Article 8, Article 8, the title is sin. The following paragraph is paragraph 1846 and the following paragraph 1846. When I teach, of course we have to base something, but we also have to add something that the book does not provide us. Huh? So, there is also, in every sin that a person commits, there is an opposite virtue that is being denied. In paragraph 18.453, sin or sins can be distinguished according to their object, as can every human act, or according to the virtues we oppose, may exist or defect, or according to their commandments they violate. They can also be classified according to whether they concern God, they know, or oneself. They can be divided into spiritual and carnal sins, or adhering as sins in thought, in word, in deed, and omission. So, sin can be in our mind, in our thought, in our design, in our way of utterances, in our deeds. Sige? The root of sin is in the heart of man. Is in his heart, in his free will, according to the teaching of the Lord. For out of the heart comes evil thoughts. What are these things that will make you impure? According to the Lord. For out of the hearts of evil, for out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, idolatry, adultery, fornication, faith, false witness, slander. These are what defile a man. No, this is actually taken from the Gospel according to Matthew chapter 15, verse 19 to 20. But to the heart also resides charity, the source of the good and pure and pure work which still wants. You know, in every human act, in all the moral act of man, you know, in evaluating all these acts, we have to consult our hearts always. Because all these things, you know, even good or bad, is being manufactured in our human heart. You know?
But we say that is conscience.
Again?
But we say that is also a conscience.
Yes. Later on, we'll talk about conscience, but we're talking about sin as a certain point in our human life that we fall. So later on, we have to talk about some points in our discussion. Okay. Now, many times in my community, I would always say to our people, listen to me. Are you listening? Please listen. So, in everything that we do, and in our moral evaluation of our life, let us always consult our heart. Are you listening to me?
Yes, sir.
No? Because all these things, in a good or bad, it is being molded in our heart. That's why I always say, be careful with your heart. Remember the gospel last Sunday? We understand this ago? No. Saint Luke says, for from the abundance of your heart, the Lord speaks. In Latin, we call it ex abundantia fortis was long before. Now, if you want to know who you are, listen. If you want you to know who you are, and if you are really honest to yourself, and if you are really honest, not just you, but including me, if we are very honest to ourselves, if we want to have an objective and subjective moral evaluation of our life as a person, then we have to consult our heart. Because your heart, our heart, will really tell you. Yes, we call it conscience. You know, we know. But the reason why we have to go to confession is because deep inside our hearts, no? We know that something bad happened to us, or something bad, or something evil, we have to repent. That's why we really have to examine our heart. When the heart is pure, it follows that our human acts will also be good, pure. But if our hearts are full of malice, then it follows that all our actions and utterances and behavior will always be evil. Are you listening? Be careful with your heart. Try to examine your hearts, because your hearts will only tell you who you are. It will tell us who we are before God. Because you know, when God talks to us, this is still on the front of the book. When God talks to us, He will not use our human language, but He will talk to the language of our heart. Again?
Recollection.
Oh yes. We have to confront.
Recollection. Limited recollection.
That's why talking about being good, being pure, being holy, consult your heart. Now, that's why if you want to review, if you want to review our life, it's first review our heart. That's why in the Bible, in the book of Ezekiel, prophet Ezekiel, they will put a little farm in you. From a heart of stone to the heart of flesh. So you will know that I am your God. See? Is your heart a heart of stone?
What is the term? Procolos. Procolos.
I saw Rodriguez, you asked what's the meaning of scrupulous conscience, we have able to answer.
We can able to
A lax conscience, a scrupulous, delicate conscience, a scrupulous conscience, that's all it.
we can able to spend not one time.
Scrupulosity, anyway. So any question? Before I move.
Ganon din ko exam written.
Huh?
Ganon din ko written exam questions.
Can we not look at the exam?
Yeah, because it's coming just few days.
I the canonical exam, it will be written or oral?
Written first.
Okay. I have to check first.
Then they left. Nice.
So, I advise to you, catechism because everything, from first year to fourth year, all our subjects are based on the catechism of Catholic Church. If you know your catechism, and if you know your Bible, you're the best theologian in the world. That's true.
I need to pass only, Father.
If you know your catechism, I repeat, you are the best theologian. Okay. Now let's talk about gravity. I already mentioned that, no? The gravity of sin. It is mortal and venial. Okay. Again, I would like to repeat this because many of you, what happened? You know, the reason why I have to keep repeating. Yeah? In order that these things that I'm always saying would build it into your mind. Because it is only by way of repetition, no, that things would penetrate in our memory. Okay. Sins are rightly evaluated according to their gravity. We can evaluate the gravity of a certain act that we commit. The distinction between mortal and venial sin, already given it in the scripture, became part of the tradition of the church. It is corroborated by human experience. Now, let's talk about mortal sin. Mortal sin destroys charity in the heart of man. They agree by reason of God's law. It turns man away from God, and it is ultimate end, and is gratitude by preferring an inferior good to Him. You know, when somebody will commit something bad that lead to mortal sin, remember always the consequence, the effect. It wounds our own being. It separates us from God, and it is a sin against charity. Always, mortal sin is an act against love. But do you understand what charity is? Because we always mention charity. Right. Carol, what is charity? Are you listening to me? What is charity? Have you heard the term charity? What is charity?
Justice to others.
What is charity? How do you find charity?
Love is fast.
Love!
That's all. Charity is love.
The highest form of love.
Charity.
The love of God above all and the love of neighbor. For the love of God is charity. There's so many forms of love. No? Now, the Greek word, the Greek equivalent of the term charity is what called? Agape. Yes. That's right. When Jesus said, no, in the gospel, because he was asked by the disciple, one of the expressions of the law, teacher, what is the greatest commandment of the law? And Jesus answered, quoting the book of Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5 to 6. Hear what is said, the Lord is God, the Lord the Lord. Therefore you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your strength, with all your will, and love your neighbor as yourself. That is taken from the book of Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18. The two great principles, Deuteronomy chapter 4, Leviticus chapter 9. Now, when Jesus said, love God above all, he said, agape God above all, and agape your neighbor as you agape yourself. You understand? Okay. Now, that's why we will say, mortal sin destroys charity. Meaning to say, when we commit certain act that will lead us to commit sin, or that act is mortal. Now, what remains in our heart? What is there? What charity that remains in our heart can be taken away. Okay. It destroys charity. I would say that any act of sin is always disproportionality, even in venial sin. Now, we talk about charity, we mean about relationship with God, with ourselves, and with neighbor. So, when we see that, it's because sin does not only affect our relationship with God and neighbor, it even affect our own self. Huh? It turns away from God, who is His ultimate end, and His gratitude. No. What? No. Remember that we are created by God for heaven. No? That is only eternal. What? Eternal destiny. Eternal goal. So, when we commit certain act that would lead us to commit mortal sin, that ultimate goal that we desire would be a difficult goal to achieve. In fact, it would stay us from attaining the ultimate good. Okay? The whole venial sin. Venial sin allows charity to subsist even though it offends and wounds it. It does not kill charity, but it only wounds charity no harm. Remember that. Mortal sin by attacking the vital principle within us, that is charity necessitates a relationship of God's mercy and a conversion of heart, which is normally accomplished with the sealing of the sacrament of reconciliation. Okay. So, my dear, the reason why God came into the world is because of sin. Do you understand? No. And Mother Teresa said, the greatest evil in this world is not the evil of poverty, the evil of hunger, the evil sickness of death, of the body. The greatest evil is evil of sin. That's why, we have to conquer the evil of sin, in all our might, in all our strength. Because that is the only bad, that is the greatest evil that can befall of each one of us. Because sin can lead us to hell. Remember that, huh? The prohibition of the beatific vision. That's why in our holiness, let us always tell our people about the evil of sin. The reason is because many people today, especially the modernists, no longer believe in sin. Because the denial of sin would lead us to the denial of God, according to John Paul II. The denial of sin. If you deny sin, the logical consequence is it will lead you to deny God. And even the denial of hell, the denial of heaven, the denial of existence of hell and devil will lead you to commit another evil, and that is the denial of God. And ultimately, that is a sin against faith. Why is it when you are? Because you are denying all these articles of faith that we believe. Any question? This is I'm telling you today, it's there in your moral views. Any question? these things are far away. I will continue discussing this because I observe that in your own agendas, many of you do not comprehend the cases that represent me. So we cannot be able to handle all these cases if we don't have enough knowledge about these things that we are talking about. Do you understand? Okay, so you have any clarification? You want? Let's go.